go on.
Okay. So one is the 1950s Corvette.
Why exactly the 1951?
Oh, I have three actually.
No, that's not a lot.
1950 blue Thunderbird and a 60s Volkswagen.
So you want to be like a jalopy then?
Now
keep in mind, I'm not asking what car would you want to have or what car would you want to drive. I'm asking what car you want to be. You are the car. So, if you want to be an elderly car...
In between those cars, it's like, there's a very suburban life to me, you know, that wants to get things strict and done right and perfected. And there's a side of me that's, like, very spiritual and doesn't really care about it as much. And, like, wants to, like, pull me away from doing great things sometimes, I guess.
So you think the 1960 Volkswagen is one of the most spiritual cars on the market?
It was for hippies.
Yeah, but that's then. This is now. I'm talking like has its legacy proved itself undying?
Oh, I haven't seen a Volkswagen. Yeah, I have, but a few of them, not so much.
I mean, I've seen like modern Volkswagens, but like the real old school ones.
Yeah, they sell them. They sell them on this app that my dad uses, and it's around the area.
So what temperature is it there, just out of curiosity?
Let me check my weather app, because I don't even know. It's 57, no, 54.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's why I love it.
That's a bit chilly for us Floridian thin-skins. It's 73 degrees here.
It's okay for me. It's so perfect, to be honest.
Oh yeah, no, what I wouldn't give for it to be that here. But I mean, it's late May now, right? We're coming into June. This is like it's not gonna get much warmer than this.
Yeah, but sadly, it's like during the day it's very humid and hot, and disgusting.
So I take it you like it cool then?
Yeah, in between 60s and 70s.
I'll do you one better. I like 40s and 50s. But so what do you mean by hot? Has it been like in the 90 degrees?
It's just to a point where like you feel suffocated.
Well, I think that's more of a humidity thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Chicago's by the water, so if you live like close to water, it's typically more humid.
No, we're not on that side.
Oh, because you said you were like 35 minutes from Chicago.
Well, the entrance, like, to Chicago,
Oh.
I never said specifically where in Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
West Chicago, North Chicago, South Chicago.
So is there a beach in Illinois then? Or... Because I know there's a body of water that separates the United States from Canada there.
There's a beach, but I'm pretty sure it's like sand that's been put there or something.
Well, then again, if I believe from that area, the Great Lakes are like a day trip away, right?
Yeah.
Like, what, 6 hours maybe?
I've never been in, like, the water, because I have a fear of, like, that, even, like, river water.
Like drowning?
That just scares me. No, not drowning, like, finding things that are pleasant.
Oh,
like,
sea creatures?
Yeah.
Well, do you eat seafood?
No.
Oh, you don't?
No, I don't.
So, that could explain it, because if you never assert your dominance over the, quote, inferior species, unquote, then, you'll forever live your life in uncertainty, never knowing your place in the great circle of life.
When I was a kid, yeah, but now I don't.
So are you like a vegetarian now then, or you just got something with seafood?
Oh no, I still like meat all the way, but like sometimes I look at it and I'm like disgusted, and I don't know
reverse of because a lot of people will not eat land animals, but they'll eat seafood. That's far more common than people who do eat land animals and not eat seafood, you know?
I can't. Just like looking at them makes me want to cry.
Yeah, because in my opinion, I mean, I'm a vegetarian, so I don't eat anything that was a living life form to the best of my knowledge. But if I wasn't, I would probably sooner eat like a steak than like a shrimp, because it's just like with like a shrimp or like a smaller thing, like clams or oysters or whatever. It's like that's the whole animal, or like a lobster or a crab. Like there's some place, like there was this one buffet I was at a few years ago. They had lobsters and like they just plop a whole lobster on the table, and it's got like the eyes and the whiskers and everything, and you literally just have to dissect it. They give you like this tool, and you have to just like chop it open and like rip out its insides and just eat it like a chicken drumstick, and just, I don't understand that. That just seems like unnecessarily like caveman primitive last resort, like it's the only thing on the island that you can eat or whatever. Like, I don't know. That just doesn't seem like, that's the same restaurant that has like an expensive salad bar and exquisite, like they got desserts, they got like fruits and vegetables and grains and all this other stuff. Like it just doesn't seem like, ooh, I'm gonna go for the lobster. I don't know. But hey, that's just me, right? But
Yeah. I mean, as a kid, I would eat clams, clam, and lobster, and then I stopped. I guess I found it gross, and then
I just get freaked out when they have like the eyes still on them, Like I'll go to like Walmart or something, and I'll just see like they'll have the fish like it's like staring at me, and it just makes me feel uncomfortable. It doesn't help that I already don't like being stared at, but much less by a dead fish,
Well, our store has a paint of lobster.
Have you ever heard the sounds of a lobster being boiled? Like a lobster being put into a boiling. Yeah, I have a lot of emotionally scarring experiences from my childhood. But, I mean, I'm just gonna blurt this out there. My dad once ate a squirrel. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Anyway,
My dad ate a frog.
Well, that's normal, kind of. Like frogs' legs are things. Like people are. But like, where are you gonna go that you see squirrel on a menu? I don't know. I think I got a one up on you there. But in any case, what's the official color of Bed Zeppelin?
Oh, wait, what?
I told you that nickname was gonna come back later.
Official color?
So basically, what's your favorite color?
Blue.
Why is that? Did you know that over 70% of the global population's favorite color is blue? 70%, huh? Well, 70% of the Earth is blue.
It's mostly like a tealish color. Like a teal kind of blue. Because ever since I was a kid, once again, I've always preferred blue.
Yeah, but like, does it have some kind of deeper meaning or symbolic significance or something?
My first day of kindergarten.
The first color you saw was blue? Like when you were born and you first opened your eyes, the first thing your eyes focused on was the blue wall or something? Or the blue sky out the window?
The teacher, she came up to me and she was interviewing me for kindergarten.
I wonder what that was like. Interviewing someone for their qualifications for kindergarten. I mean, your parents had to have been there, right? There's no way they take like a preschooler one-on-one into some like back room and sit them down, cross-legged with a clipboard and whatever, right?
No, it was like for seating placements, She asked, what color table would you like to sit at? And I said,
answer to that determines whether you get into kindergarten or not. Because if they don't have the color table you request, then they can't. You gotta wait till next semester.
And then later on, my crush sat at table red. So sadly, boo-hoo.
Well, that seems very appropriate, actually. I don't know.
Like, I don't know, it chose red, and I was like sad.
I wish I would have chose red. I would have got to sit next to him then.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, well, just remember, you never have to change your answers or opinions or anything to impress other people. Whatever.
I mean, if you're insecure, it still applies.
Yeah. Well, there's plenty of weird-looking and disturbing fish in the sea. But and oh, speaking of sea creatures, what do you think of jellyfish?
Get it away from me.
Well, okay, so, but like, would you want to be a jellyfish? Would that help you make peace with your brother and them?
No.
Why not? I mean, who wouldn't want to be a jellyfish? It's awesome, right? I don't know.
I hate all sea creatures, man.
What about, so sea creatures, not even fish then, what about like dolphins? What do you got against dolphins?
They hump you.
But like, dolphins can communicate telepathically with dolphins in the Andromeda Galaxy. Like, how cool is that?
Well, that's amazing. I'm not going to kill it. Or get it away from me. Like, being an aquarium, like, it makes me shudder. Like, I'm scared.
Huh. What about octopi?
They look so ugly. I mean, they look really cute when they're babies. And then...
If you're looking for proof of alien life, look no further than the octopus.
It literally looks like a freaking alien.
Yeah, it looks like some kind of sci-fi villain, I suppose, from like the 70s or something.
For the longest time, I thought squids were in the sky, like at night.
In Minecraft they are, so I see what you mean there. That and the ghasts from Minecraft, but I don't know.
You know, I don't think I got it from Minecraft.
Oh.
But yeah.
So, at what age did you discover Minecraft?
At age 12.
Did you like it right away, or did it grow on you?
I was kind of like, I was poor, sort of. So
it was like mind-blowing?
It was like mining videos, like Sky does Minecraft.
Oh, well, okay. Well, what age did you start playing Minecraft, then?
Oh, playing? 16. Because I bought it with my own money.
And since you said you're still in high school, I take it that wasn't too long ago, huh?
It was the beginning of junior year.
So what's the coolest thing you've built or done in Minecraft then?
A satanic church.
Ooh, nice! I did something very similar. I made a whole satanic world with the devil's tree as the icon, like the centerpiece. Patty King actually helped me out with that one. That was a duo project, but I kind of took over at the end. But we tried to recreate like a 9 levels of hell kind of thing, where like every layer down gets gradually more satanic. So the first one started off pretty mild. It was just like this like creepy looking like abandoned library with like cobwebs and spiders and stuff, and then the next level down there was like a lava pit and like a sign of like, you know, turn back now or whatever, you know, like the staircase going down, it's like, you know, emergency use only or something like that, you know, do not proceed or something. And so then you go down the third one, and we found, you know how there's those soundtracks in Minecraft, Like
Yeah.
like the different, like there's like 13 different like records you could play basically. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So we found this one. I forget what it was. I want to say number 11, but I'm not sure. There was this one that was just really creepy. It had like the sound of like some like old man coughing, and then it like turned into like there were like walking sounds. Like it wasn't music at all. It
Sounds
was
in
just a
Florida.
series of like disturbing sounds, and it was glass shattering at one point, and we're like, okay, we'll have this playing on loop for this whole room. So like that was the level. It just had this creepy music, and there were like stuffed like dragon heads with the glowing eyes, and like stuff, skeleton skulls, with torches on the heads hanging at the top, and jack-o'-lanterns, and there's this one like little laboratory or whatever. There's a little computer and a desk with like a skeleton mannequin sitting in the chair, and you know, so that one was more disturbing. And then the fourth one, we carved out the shape of the letters that make up the word hell in lava, and then there was, let's see, I think we tried to create a church or something. It was really small, the level, but it was just very cliche. It just had some bleachers, a little stage with an upside down cross and a podium, and that's about as far as we got. And then the Devil's Tree, it was like a whole like there was like a spiral staircase going up it, and there was like a railing, and at one point there was a section where you can like swing across the vines. It was like an obstacle course, and there's all kind of like monsters, and like we had like levers and stuff where you like you step on the like you make a jump, and then as soon as you land it triggers a thing to come out, and it's like a jump scare or whatever. And so yeah, we put a lot of effort into that tree, and then inside it was our house that we made. It was just a little crappy like thing, just there's like a fireplace and yeah, chest, crafting table, double bed, and that's about it. And then there was a zoo um, of like basically creatures from the nether, ghasts, blazes, zombie pigmen, etc. They're just kept in absurdly large numbers, confined in cages, just moving around in their one block area. Um, and then I, being me, tried to make a roller coaster, but then got very upset when I realized it couldn't go upside down or even sideways. So I just made basically like a trolley tour through the thing. It went through mountains and tunnels, and I would usually carve out little things to make it haunted in there. There was a waterfall you go through at one point. I made a portal to the nether in there, so there's a little section in the nether. And then there's a walking trail, of course, that goes like alongside the railing, and it cuts through the zoo and everything. And then I enslaved a village. I found a village on the other side of the world that was inhabited. I just built a giant wall around it made of cobblestone, and I built it all the way to almost the limit of 128 blocks, just barely low enough so that the uh, coaster could go over it. Um, but I just built a giant wall around it, and then had lava, like cascading from the top of the wall. And there were like just red inverted crosses along the sides, and just like glass everywhere and stuff like that. And it was pretty crazy. It was over the top. But so yeah, that's that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to overpower your story there. I just kind of jogged my memory on that one thing. But
go back to like the music. When you were describing that, I was
what?
getting all paranoid. When you were describing that, I was getting all paranoid.
What, the music?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I read so many creepypastas that I guess sometimes that rubs off on my storytelling technique. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the horror genre. As a YouTuber, I put my email address I paste it to the description of a lot of my videos, and every once in a while, some fans will email me something, and sometimes will be like, oh, here's a story or whatever. It's very seldom something they give me permission to use on the channel, but more often than not, it's just like, oh, here's a little thing I wrote, or here's, something, here's a file of a thing I wrote when I was younger or whatever, something, like you're, just give it a read or give it a listen or something. And, so I read a lot of, like, fan-made creepypasta, and some of it even involves some of the lore from my channel, some of the characters I make up, and, like, story things, and that's always fun, interpretations of some things, and sometimes if it's entertaining enough, I might even make it canon or like acknowledge it give a very subtle nod to it in a future video or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe that's why once again I gotta thank Patty King for that. He's the one who actually introduced me to creepypastas. Like, what was it, 6 years ago, 7 years ago? Maybe very very close to when I first met him. That's actually one of the reasons. That's actually one of the things we bonded over, is because, I wasn't, like, the household that I was raised in. I wasn't really allowed to, like, I don't know. It was very. It was a weird situation, but I didn't like have access to like the internet or anything really, or like video games, or there was only 3 TV channels I was allowed to watch, and there were, I think, Disney Channel, Cartoon Network, and Nickelodeon, so don't really get much horror on any of those. But so yeah, I basically I was sheltered from all that kind of stuff, so I was just very I was a disturbed child too, though. So I just had like this insatiable curiosity, and I did a bunch of like weird stuff that like you'd see in like a movie or something, where it's like, oh no, nobody's actually like that. Like, yeah, well, I was, but so, when he, like, told me that that was a thing that exists, that was when I first, like, had access to the internet, and, I remember that was one of the first things I looked up on YouTube. It's like, I discovered this channel, Mr. Nightmare. Shout out to Mr. Nightmare. Now, in retrospect, that's very entry level. It's very mild, but at the time, it scared the crap out of me. I was like, oh, what is this? And so I came to love it.
Oh, I came to love the horror genre a lot.
One can infer based on your shout out to Friday the 13th.
Yeah. Well, okay. So when I was 3, my first horror movie was
3 years
Halloween. Yeah.
Now that I think about it, I probably did see some horror movies as a child, but only with my dad, probably. But I'm not really counting that, because it'd have to be something you watch by yourself. Like, it's a whole different environment. If you're with someone, especially like your parents or something, it's a different aesthetic, especially with something like horror. If you're a child, there's nothing like watching a horror movie by yourself as a child or something like that, like in your room with everyone sleeping, or if you're home alone or something. It's like that's a whole other world there, So I didn't like stumble across horror by myself until like 6 years ago. But what?
My mom was encouraged it. Like, we would watch scary movies together on a daily, and I just would love it more and more, because I don't know. And then I got more disturbed as I grew up, and whenever anyone got killed, I would like laugh at it. I don't know why. It was comedic.
Yeah, I was one of those kids though, just like. On the rare occasion I did have access to the internet, I would like go to these websites that most of them probably got taken down by now, but it would just be like, watch people die live or something like that, or mutilation extreme or whatever. It's like gorecore, get your whatever, and it would be like. It would be a bunch of weird stuff. Sometimes it would get like sexual too. It would be like a fetish of like gore or something. It'd be like, oh, does me stabbing my arm with this glass turn you on? Oh, why don't you lick the blood or whatever? I don't know. It's just a bunch of like random sick, twisted nonsense, and it's just like, oh, I got intrigued by that. But what?
Now that's in the dark web, and
that's quite common. You could probably find that on Reddit even.
Yeah, and then like the security footage from schools and the school shooting. It's very detailed.
Yeah, so technically, if you were to ask me, have you ever seen a dead body, or better yet, have you ever watched someone die? Technically, yes, but I've been told from various reliable sources that watching something like that on the internet doesn't nearly have the same effect or reaction as like actually watching someone die in person. So I'm gonna have to say no. But what?
I gave it the same effect. That it would happen in person because I was doing this challenge and they told me to do it. And so I watched the video and I'm like, okay. And I heard
I don't think that was an actor.
And then they're like, beg for mercy, beg for mercy. And we beg for mercy. And then suddenly his head gets chopped off. And it wasn't chopped off all the way. So they had to use their knife to cut it.
Yeah, I watched a lot of like torture videos and like a lot of gang violence stuff where it'd be like some masked thugs, come up to some like rival gang member, whatever, and they had like I guess drugged him or whatever, and so he'd finally waked up and he'd be tied to a chair or something, and they'd like slap him around, ask him some questions, typically in a foreign language, and they'd just be like, oh, no, I don't know anything or whatever, and they'd like pull out some kind of weapon and be like, you sure you don't know anything? I don't know. And for some reason, it was very seldomly a gun. It was usually like a knife or like a saw or like some kind of I don't know why. I mean, nowadays it would probably just be a gun, but I guess 10, 15 years ago, things were different or whatever. But and they would just be like, the guy would just be like screaming, and they just start like just slowly chiseling away, whatever. It's sometimes they'd cut one of his fingers off or something and say like, okay, now you're gonna talk now or whatever, and it'd be they'd like just cut all the fingers off, and it'd be like, it's like, all right, we get it, all right, just cut right to the sandwich, okay, whatever.
Stop cutting fingers and cut to the sandwich.
That's probably like, I don't know. I feel like there's something to be said about that. You have like a 7-year-old watching this video of someone being killed, and their reaction to it is just, all right, yeah, just get it, just chop his head off already. Like that's what the 7-year-old's saying, as opposed to like, oh no, I can't watch it.
It's probably, I mean, that's funny because it's like the kid's just like not patient enough. Like we know what's coming.
Like, all right, I'm just gonna fast forward 2/3 through the video. I don't care about the exposition. I don't care about why he's tied to the chair. I can skip all the talking and the subtitles. Let me just get right to the act.
Exactly. You need every story mode. Press B to skip.
Yeah, so ironically, I've seen much more violence in, like, online and in movies and such than I ever have in, like, video games or, like, any of the things that actually take the heat. But, yeah.
I mean, okay. Well, the person that I've been to Maryland, well, my dad, he was in multiple bar fights. And we got a school shooting threat, like, a few weeks ago. So, the whole school was fucking gone wild. People crying, people running, people calling their parents, scared.
Alright, anyway, so...